Well, hello there. Welcome to our Friday demo. I am so happy you could join me. Hope you had a fantastic week. Ready to end it with a little bit of paint pouring. It should be a fun one tonight, I hope. I've already put a base coat on my panel. I'm using an older panel. I'm painting over the top of it, but I've applied a base coat already. So we are ahead of the game. We're ready to go. So welcome everyone. Hey Lynn and Carla. Hey Monique. Great to see you. Hey Pat. Awesome. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. I'm going to be doing a easy cloud pour painting today. I've been thinking about this one for a little while. I'm using my Easy Cloud mixture, which I've shared many times before. It is 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part of the DecoArt Crafts DecoArt satin enamels, or you could use the Bare satin enamels, and 1 part of the Craft Smart white. And that Craft Smart white has some cool features in it to get a little bit different looking cloud effect. So that's what we'll be doing today, and I've got some purples and silver mixed up, so it's a kind of a monochromatic, again, color palette. But I'm using a brand new pearlized violet color, which I'm excited to try out. It's a really pretty purple color, and that's what I've used as my base coat. So let's jump over. I'll show you all the colors, and we'll get going. So we flip it over here. And you can see I've already applied the base coat to my panel, and that base coat color is this one right here. This is another one of those Master's Touch pearlescent colors, one of these new ones that I've found. This is Pearlized Violet. It's a really pretty red violet color. I really like it a lot. We'll see how it acts. I've mixed up a bit of it here, so I've used this as my base coat just to give myself the option of having some negative space if I want it. I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but if it does happen, then I have a color that will blend into all of the rest of my color palette, and so it's just an option for me, and we'll just see how the painting goes. And if we have some negative space, cool. If not, then oh well, I was ready for it anyway. So right down here we have another light purple color. This one is a mixture of 2 different paints, Artist Loft Light Violet and Liquitex Basics Light Blue Violet. So I didn't want it to be so red as this. This is kind of almost on the pink side, and I didn't want it to be so blue. So I wanted a mixture of the 2, and that's what I have gotten right here. So kind of a mix of both of them. So it's still more of a red violet, but I've brought it a little more to the blue side. Right here we've got regular old silver from Artist Loft. So this is just kind of going to add a little bit of metallics as well as our violet up here, but it's also a lighter value, and it's something other than white. So I wanted just a little bit extra value, kind of a grayish, it's kind of a grayish color, but I really like using silver with purples. And finally, we've got another mixture here. This dark value is Phthalo Blue. Again, I'm using the Master's Touch. I really like the Master's Touch Phthalo Blue and some Liquitex Basics Dioxazine Purple. I wanted to bring that blue a little more over to the purple side, and so, but I still wanted it very dark. So we've got this really dark value right here. And then finally over here we've got my cloud mix, the Easy Cloud mixture. And again, 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part, I'm using the DecoArt satin enamel, but you could use the Bare satin enamel, and 1 part of the Craft Smart white paint. So that is it. That's the color palette I'll be using. I'm going to be putting everything in my regular mixing cup this time. I want to get some wider layers of color, and I want fewer layers, but I kind of want them wider. So I'm using my bigger cup for this one. We'll see how it works. And again, I've got my base coat ready to go, so let's move our paints and get started just layering our cup. And I'll move these out of the way. Okay, so I've got, let me line all these up here. So I've got kind of a composition in mind, something I would kind of like to achieve. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We'll have to see if it works, and then I'll tell you if it worked or not, but we'll find out. But I'm going to not start with my cloud pour as the first layer. I'm going to be starting with some darker colors first and then adding the cloud mixture. Remember, the first color you put in is usually the last color to come out, which forms your center. And I don't want that white to be in the center of my paint puddle. So I'm going to start with the phthalo. And again, I have to decide which side of my cup I want to pour on. I think I'm just going to go with my spout side here and just put a little bit of our phthalo blue, maybe a little more in there, that dark value. And then I'm going to go to my kind of that light purple. And then I'm going to go with my cloud mixture, and we're going to pour some of that on there. Go over to my silver, and I have thought out how I wanted to layer this cup. So I'm pretty confident with these, how I'm layering it. Whether it works out is another story, but we'll find out soon. So there is the pearlized violet again, and we're going to go back to, actually I'm going to go back to the kind of the lighter purple. I want kind of a lighter value and then a darker value on top. And then we're going to go back to the cloud mixture. And that's probably the only, those two layers of cloud mix is all I'm going to put in here. And you can see it's kind of falling down. It's kind of heavy. That's because of those satin enamels. And let's go back to our silver here. And I need 10 ounces of paint. This is 16 by 20, so 10 ounces is how much I like to use for that. I'm almost there. And I'll end with a little more of this violet and maybe a little more silver. And then finally I'm going to finish with our phthalo, our dark phthalo mixture. And that is 10 ounces right there. And we are ready to go. So I'm going to let that sit for a minute. Just going to move it aside here. And by the way, this is just the easy formula for all these other colors. 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and a little bit of water to get them to the right consistency. And I'm using the number 3 consistency for these colors. It's a little bit thinner. Still thick enough, of course, for a ring pour or cloud pour or straight pour for that matter. But so it's kind of the thinnest I like to go with these types of pours. But so it's the number 3, which is a slight mound. And so they're all the same consistency. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So I'm going to be pouring not in the center this time. I'm going to be pouring a little off center, kind of right here. I'm doing that on purpose, and it's to give me a little bit of flexibility. Again, we might end up with some negative space. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. That will be to be determined after we get our paint poured on the panel. And let me flip the camera here. You can get a little better shot of the paint shooting out of my cup. I'm going to move this down here, just like that. So I'm going to be pouring right about here. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, just a small stream of paint. And this is mostly pretty much a straight pour that I'm going to be doing. You could do a ring pour if you wanted. And you could add some wiggle to it if you wanted to. We could play around with it, a little bit of swirl. I'm just going to kind of keep it mostly straight here. And these initial layers of paint coming out these initial rings are the ones most likely to be poured off. And we haven't really hit our cloud mix yet. That's where things get really fun and interesting. It's coming up. So just nice and steady. And you could also turn your cup if you wanted to, just to change directions a little bit, add a little interest. And I'm going to start turning it back here and getting towards the end now of the cup. I'm starting to see some cloudy things popping up in our paint puddle. So I'm going to kind of turn my cup a little bit more at the final end here of our, we're almost there, almost done. And again, that dark blue is at the center of our puddle. So there we go. I'm going to, can end it right there, pull it away, and that is it. So we've got our colors on our panel. We've got the interesting paint puddle. I like what's happening. Right around here, we've got some cloudy effects starting to pop up, and those will continue to form. So you could let this sit here for a minute or two if you wanted to. There's no huge rush to get into the tilting right away. So I'm just going to let them maybe sit right there for just a moment and let some things maybe develop a little bit. And Carla's got a good question. She's asking what size panel. This is a 16 by 20. So it's kind of a standard size I like to use. And so that requires about 10 ounces of paint in our paint puddle. And then the base coat is some extra paint, but 10 ounces is what I had layered in my mixing cup. So great question. And let's see here. All right, so things are happening. I'm gonna flip the camera over, you get a little better look. Let's see what is developing. So right in here, we're getting some cloudy cells forming right around here. You could torch, I guess, if you wanted to. I don't usually torch my puddle, my paint puddle, but we can go ahead and torch. You could pop a few air bubbles. Again, I don't really do a lot of that. But, so we'll let that sit for just another minute, perhaps. While I'm doing that, I can rinse out my mixing cup, or get started, at least. There we go. So when I empty or clean my like plastic tools that I reuse, kind of wipe out a lot of the paint, and then I'll just give it a squirt with my spray bottle, and then just set it aside, and that really helps keep the paint kind of fluid and keep it from sticking and grabbing onto your tools. So that is handy to keep a squirt bottle nearby. And I think we've waited long enough. Let's get on to the fun, which is the tilting part. So I'm going to start by just expanding the paint puddle around here. And I might not go all the way over to this side right away. I might leave a little, again, negative space happening over there. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we've kind of expanded our puddle, and it's covering a lot of the canvas. And let's see, I think I'll pour off of this corner first. We've got a lot of paint here. You can see all these rings are super compacted right up in here. And those are spread out, and we'll get some more cell things happening as we continue to stretch the paint. We've got a very interesting center here, though, so that's kind of cool. So let's go ahead and continue on. I'm going to tilt over this corner. And I'm going to go down here next, I think. Maybe a little more. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Let's go down here. I'm gonna undecided still with that negative space idea. So we almost have this corner covered. Just tilting it back, and so far it's interesting. And now decision time. Well, we're going to keep that. I'm still not sure. One thing I'm going to do, though, I'm going to kind of wipe my hands off quickly. And the cells are still popping up, our cloud cells. And I'm going to use the rest of the Pearl Violet, and I'll use that as some flow extender, and just pour it right here next to our kind of the barrier we've got. And let's see, I might use my knife to do this. I'm just going to kind of push it up against our paint here and all the way to the edge. And what I want to try to do I'm going to tilt very rapidly or quickly and see if I can create a little more interest interesting line or shape over here. And then we can kind of try to keep some of that negative space. So we'll see if that works. And adding the kind of that flow extender will help kind of move the paint a little easier. So I'm going to kind of move this quick here. I just want a little more interesting line or interesting shape. And that kind of did it. I kind of like what's happening there. Let me try a little bit more. So again, I'm just trying to create more interest. I just don't like a straight line. So I want to try something a little more unique. So this is, I think, working out pretty good. So I'm going to pour off of this corner some of that excess flow extender. There we go. And I think we've created a little bit of negative space, a much more interesting shape on there. So for the moment, I think I'll try to keep that. I'm gonna so when you do that, you can kind of, we have some kind of wonky cells that happen when you tilt that quickly. So there we go. So that's kind of interesting. I kind of like that. It ties in to kind of the rest of the painting. It's actually kind of cool because we have a lot of kind of fluffy clouds happening and then these kind of jaggedy lines. It's kind of a nice contrast that we have there. So that's pretty much it. You could just leave it like that. You could tilt a little bit more. One thing I might try tilting a little bit more down here. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just going to kind of slowly see if I can move our center of interest a little bit. So I'm keeping an eye kind of on the top there. And that wants to move quicker now because we added that extra paint. So I don't want to do too much. It's kind of not doing what I wanted it to do. So if that happens, then you can always just stop, which I think I'm going to do right there. And I think I'll call that good. I like that. I wanted to try to tilt a little more of this off, kind of bring this down a little bit, but it's not wanting to move. This wants to move much quicker, so that would kind of mess up all of these cells in order to try to manipulate anything down here. It's just not worth it. So you kind of have to know when to cut your losses and call it a day with your tilting. But I think this is a pretty interesting painting. We have altered the center quite a bit, which I'm happy about. It's much more organic now. Those cells really popped up and filled in everything. And we have these little hints of that metallic purple up here, kind of running all the way through all the different colors and clouds down here, but it still ties the whole painting together. And we have kind of this very interesting corner up there. So, but we could take a look at it, like a few different orientations. And it's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at this one. It's kind of interesting, actually. I kind of like that that format. Or I could put it this way. Let's see what happens there. And I don't know, it's kind of interesting right there. So I'll leave it right there for a moment. Take a look. And I got a couple questions. And let's see. Monique is asking, did it turn out as you imagined in your head? A little bit, not exactly. My compositional idea was I didn't want a really defined center like you get with a lot of straight pours or ring pours. So I was going to tilt that off the canvas, the center area, but it didn't do what it typically does, which is kind of create that interesting kind of swirly center. And I really like what happened here. So I'm pretty pleased with that, actually. So, and it was just a very broad idea. I don't like to have really defined specific ideas. We were able to keep some negative space, which is kind of cool. So I'm kind of happy about that. And let's see, Donna is asking, what do you find is the best thing to clean your palette, cup, or tools with? Tissues, paper towels, or something else? Yeah, when I'm cleaning my plastic cups and stuff, I have tissues like right here, like a box of tissues. These are just generic Kroger brand tissues, but they're really easy to just jerk out a couple tissues and wipe your tools with. Paper towels are a little harder to, pull off the roll, unless you have a special, paper towel holder or something. I like tissues, but paper towels work just fine. And whatever's cheap and easy to use. So it really depends. And then having a squirt bottle to kind of squirt out, squirt your tools or cups really helps to get all the rest of the paint out of there. So hopefully that helps. And good question though. And let's see here. And Susan is asking if we could see a close-up. Sure. Nice to see you, Susan. So let me go up and let me turn this actually. I'm going to turn it back this way. Make it a little easier. Let me zoom in a little bit. So here's that negative space and some of those little bit wonky cells. And there's kind of the center, which are a little bit more fluffy cells happening, the bottom right corner. And let me take it over here. So they're very pretty clouds. I really like the way the cloud cells turned out. And we have some nice value changes right in the center, our center of interest. We have lights next to darks. So I'm pretty pleased about that. And so yeah, it's kind of an interesting, pretty interesting painting. So let's see here. So let me flip back and I'll show you. Carla, I know, was asking about the Dutch pour demo I did in the membership on Wednesday, and that is right behind me here. So it dried really nicely. That is the clear base coat, and it does have the first layer that I poured on there. It shows through just fine. It's very hard to see on the camera because it's a very subtle pour, but you can, it looks great in person. So I'll try to capture it a little bit better with some images, some photos, but it dried great. I really like it. And it's a very cool technique to use, I think. And but you can do all kinds of fun things with that clear base coat. So I'll probably be using it a lot in the future. All right. Let's see here. And any other questions you might have before we break? And let's see. So cool. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, thanks for all the great comments. I'm glad everyone likes the demo and the Dutch pour. They're a lot of fun. So so if this is interesting, go ahead and create a cloud pour. Very easy. Again, my easy cloud mixture. And you can get some pretty awesome results. And this was using the DecoArt satin enamel. If you use the Behr satin enamel, you do get a different kind of cloud cell, which I also really like. The DecoArt tends to give you like a fluffier looking cloud, but the Behr gives you a little bit different look, which is also very cool as well. So, all right. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend and get to do some painting. It's going to be raining here in San Diego all weekend, I think. So I'll be doing a little bit of painting, a little bit of football watching probably. So it'll be a lot of fun, a relaxing weekend. So thanks so much, everyone. I will talk to you very soon, and take care. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.